We're told that fate is kind, that destiny brings soulmates together under moonlight and starlight, with violin strings and whispered promises, that when you meet the one, you'll know instantly, like every fairy tale promised, like every romance novel swore, like every elder in every pack testified with misty eyes and trembling voices. But when you wake up in a stranger's bed, covered in burns you don't remember getting, saved by wolves whose names you don't know, and your own wolf is so silent inside you that you wonder if she died in the flames, you learn the devastating truth. Fate doesn't give a damn about timing. Sometimes your soulmate pulls you from a burning car on the worst night of your life. Sometimes, the mate bond snaps into place when you're too broken to feel it. Sometimes, destiny arrives exactly when you're least prepared to receive it. And sometimes, just sometimes, the cruelest thing fate can do is save your life when all you wanted was to let the fire finish what it started. My name is Vera Ashford, and I should have died 3 days ago. The fact that I didn't? That's not a miracle, that's a complication. Chapter 1. Ash and Aftermath. The ceiling above me is cedar. Hand-carved beams that smell like forests and winter. And something else, something wild that makes my absent wolf stir for the first time in 72 hours. I don't want to open my eyes. Opening my eyes means accepting that I'm still alive, and I'm not ready for that particular cruelty yet. Her heart rate just spiked. The voice is male, deep, and comes from somewhere to my left. She's waking up. Finally, another male voice, this one rougher, edged with something that might be relief, or might be annoyance. 3 days is a long time for a shifter to stay under. She wasn't healing properly. The silver. I know what silver does, Kieran. Silence falls like a stone into water. Heavy, uncomfortable. I keep my eyes closed and take inventory of my body the way my mother taught me before everything. Before the diagnosis, before the rejection, before the fire. My hands. Bandaged. The burns there were 3rd degree. I remember that much. I remember watching the skin blister and peel as I tried to free myself from the seatbelt that had melted into my shoulder. My legs, sore but functional. That's good. That's unexpected. My chest, tight, bound. Probably more bandages covering the places where the dashboard had caved in and the steering wheel had become a cage. My wolf. Still silent, still absent, still, we know you're awake. A 3rd voice. And this one does something to the air in the room. Makes it thicker, heavier. Makes my skin prickle with awareness even though my wolf won't rise to meet it. Your breathing changed 30 seconds ago. I open my eyes. 3 men stand around the bed like sentinels. Like guards, like wolves watching prey. Except their eyes hold concern instead of hunger. The one on the left is tall and lean, with dark hair pulled back in a knot, and eyes the color of amber. Healer, something in me whispers. His hands are steady, and there's a medical bag on the table beside him. The one in the middle is broader, built like a fighter, with scars that trace up his neck and disappear into his beard. His arms are crossed, and he's studying me the way you'd study a puzzle you can't quite solve. The one on the right, I can't look at him directly. It's like staring into the sun. My eyes slide off him, and there's a pressure in my chest that has nothing to do with my injuries and everything to do with something I'm not ready to name. Where am I? My voice comes out rusted, broken, like I've been screaming, which maybe I have. I don't remember. Safe house. 20 miles outside Raven Hollow territory. The healer Kieran, the other one called him steps closer. I'm Kieran Frost. This is Tobias Reed. And that's Dante Blackwood. The 3rd man speaks his own name, and it reverberates through my chest like a drum. Like a heartbeat that isn't mine. Alpha of the Blackwood pack. Alpha. Of course he is. I try to sit up, and pain explodes through every nerve ending I have. Kieran moves immediately, hands gentle but firm as he eases me back down. Don't. You're not ready. How long? I manage through gritted teeth. 3 days since we pulled you out, Tobias says. He hasn't uncrossed his arms, hasn't stopped studying me. You were in bad shape. Still are, if we're being honest. Why? The question comes out before I can stop it. All 3 of them go still. Why did we pull you out? Kieran's eyebrows rise. Because you were dying. That's not what she's asking. Dante's voice is quiet, and he still hasn't moved from his position near the window. Still hasn't come closer. She wants to know why we bothered. The silence that follows is answer enough. I close my eyes again. You should have left me. Noted. Tobias's voice is dry. We'll keep that in mind for next time you drive off Widow's Peak with a blood alcohol level of 0 and brake lines that were clearly cut. My eyes snap open. What? Your accident wasn't an accident. Kieran pulls a chair closer to the bed, sits down with the careful movement of someone who's been standing for too long. Someone tried to kill you, Vera. We pulled you out before they could finish the job. The room tilts, spins, reforms into something I don't recognize. That's not possible. Why not? Dante asks. And there's something in his tone that makes me finally, look at him directly. It's a mistake. He's beautiful in the way that predators are beautiful. Sharp edges and dark eyes and a mouth that looks like it's forgotten how to smile. His hair is black, long enough to brush his collar, and there's a restlessness to him that makes me think of wolves pacing in cages they can't escape. But it's his eyes that catch me. Hold me. Refuse to let me look away. They're silver, pure molten silver, and they're looking at me like I'm the answer to a question he hasn't asked yet. Because no one cares enough about me to want me dead, I say, and I hear how pathetic that sounds. How broken. I'm barren, rejected, cast out of my pack 6 months ago. I'm nobody. I'm nothing. There's no reason to. You're not nothing. Dante's voice cuts through my spiral like a knife. Sharp. Certain. Final. And someone very clearly disagrees with your assessment of your value. I laugh, and it hurts. Everything hurts. You don't know me. I know you fought. Tobias uncrosses his arms, and I see bandages on his knuckles. Burns, maybe, from pulling me out. I know you were conscious when we reached the car. I know you told us to save the bag in the back seat before we saved you. The bag. My manuscripts. My stories. The only things I managed to take with me when Alpha Garrett threw me out with nothing but the clothes on my back and the shame of my broken body. You got them? My voice cracks. Kieran nods toward the corner, where my worn leather satchel sits on a table, scorched but intact. Every page. Something in my chest loosens. Not much. Not enough to call it hope. But something. Thank you. It's inadequate, those 2 words. They can't possibly contain the weight of what these strangers did for me. I don't know why you saved me, but thank you. You don't need to thank us. Dante's still at the window, but his reflection in the glass is watching me. You need to heal, and then you need to tell us who wants you dead. I already told you. You told us you think you're worthless. His reflection's mouth curves, not quite a smile. That's not the same as the truth. Subscribe if you believe Vera deserves answers instead of more questions. Because women like Vera have spent too long being told their instincts are wrong. Before I can respond, Kieran stands, checking the IV line I hadn't noticed in my arm. You need rest, real rest, not the unconscious kind. We can talk more tomorrow. I need to leave. I try again to sit up, and again, my body refuses to cooperate. I'm putting you in danger. If someone's after me, then they'll have to go through us. Tobias's voice is flat, final. And that won't end well for them. You don't owe me anything. Maybe not. Dante finally turns from the window, and the full force of his attention makes my silent wolf whimper. But we pulled you out of that fire, Vera Ashford. That makes you ours until we know you're safe. Whether you like it or not. The possessiveness in that statement should anger me. Should trigger every defense mechanism I've built over the past 6 months of being unwanted and discarded. Instead, it does something worse. It makes me want to believe him. Chapter 2. The Weight of Unwanted Salvation. The first night in the safe house, I dream of fire. Not the crash, not the flames that consumed my car on Widow's Peak. Those memories are too recent, too raw, too close to the surface to be dreams. They're just replays. Fragments of trauma on an endless loop. No, I dream of the other fire. The one from 6 months ago. I dream of standing in Alpha Garrett's office while he holds the medical report like it's contaminated. Like the words on that paper have the power to infect him with my inadequacy, premature ovarian failure, sterile, unable to bear children. I dream of watching his face change, watching attraction curdle into disgust, watching love, or what I'd believed was love, evaporate like morning mist under a harsh sun. You lied to me. Dream Garrett's voice is cold, so cold. You let me claim you. You let me mark you. You let me announce to the entire pack that you were going to be my Luna. And you knew. I didn't know. My voice in the dream is stronger than it was in reality. In reality, I'd whispered, begged, broken down completely. The symptoms didn't start until after the mating ceremony. I swear, Garrett, I didn't. It doesn't matter. He tears the mate mark from his neck with his own claws, and I feel it in the dream. The way I felt it then, like someone reaching into my chest and ripping out something vital. You're defective, broken. What use is a Luna who can't give her alpha heirs? The dream shifts, the way dreams do, and suddenly, I'm in the pack square, on my knees. While Garrett announces my shame to everyone I've ever known, barren, worthless, cast out, and my father, my own father, standing in the crowd with his new mate and his other daughter, the one who can shift properly, the one whose wolf is strong and fierce and everything mine isn't, the one who isn't broken. He doesn't meet my eyes, doesn't speak in my defense, just turns away like I've already become invisible. The dream fire starts then, not real fire. The burning kind of shame that starts in your chest and spreads until your whole body feels like it's being consumed from the inside out. I wake up, gasping. The room is dark except for moonlight filtering through cedar blinds. My heart is racing, and my wolf still silent, still absent, doesn't rise to comfort me the way she should. Breathe. The voice comes from the corner, and I nearly jump out of my skin. Dante sits in a chair I hadn't noticed earlier, half hidden in shadows. His silver eyes catch the moonlight like mirrors. What are you doing here? My voice is still dream rough, shaking, making sure you survive the night. He doesn't move, doesn't come closer. Kieran said your vitals were unstable, that the silver poisoning was still working through your system. Someone needed to watch you. So you volunteered? I pull the blanket higher, suddenly aware that I'm wearing clothes that aren't mine. Soft cotton that smells like cedar and something else. Something that makes my absent wolf stir again, restless and confused. Tobias needed sleep. Kieran needed to prepare more antidotes. Dante's voice is carefully neutral. Process of elimination. We sit in silence for a moment. Two broken people in a dark room, neither one knowing what to say. You were dreaming, he finally says. About the rejection. It's not a question, but I answer anyway. How did you know? You kept saying I'm sorry. His jaw tightens, over and over, like an apology could change what he did. Shame floods through me, hot and familiar. You shouldn't have heard that. Probably not. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, and the moonlight catches scars on his forearms. Old ones, deep ones. But I did. And now I'm going to tell you something, Vera Ashford, and I need you to listen carefully. I want to look away, want to close my eyes and pretend I'm still dreaming. But his voice holds me captive. Whatever that alpha told you about your worth, he was wrong. Dante's words are quiet but absolute. Whatever your pack made you believe about being broken, they were wrong. And whatever voice in your head keeps telling you that you deserve to burn in that car, he pauses, and the weight of his gaze is almost physical. That voice is a liar. My throat closes. You don't understand. I understand that you're alive, despite someone's best efforts to make you otherwise. I understand that you fought to survive, even though part of you wanted to give up. I understand that you asked us to save your stories before you asked us to save you. His voice roughens. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. It tells you I'm a coward who values paper over her own life. It tells me you're someone who still has something to live for, even if you've forgotten what it is. The tears come before I can stop them. Silent, hot, furious tears that I've been holding back for 6 months, since the rejection, since the exile, Since the night I drove up to Widow's Peak with no real plan except to sit in my car and watch the sunrise one more time. I didn't mean to go over the edge. At least, I don't think I did. The brake line's being cut that changes things. That means someone else made the choice for me. Who would want me dead? I whisper. I'm nobody. I have nothing. I am nothing. Dante stands, and suddenly he's beside the bed. Close enough that I can see the silver flecks in his dark irises. Close enough that I can smell cedar and winter, and something wild that makes my broken wolf keen with longing. Stop saying that. His voice is low, dangerous. Stop repeating the lies they told you like they're scripture. They're not lies. I can't shift properly. I can't bear children. I can't. You can survive. He cuts me off. You can create. You can fight. You can feel. Those things matter, Vera. They matter more than shifting, more than breeding, more than whatever arbitrary measures your pack used to determine worth. I stare at him, this stranger alpha who pulled me from fire and now sits vigil in my darkness, and I don't know what to say. Why do you care? It's barely a whisper. Something flickers across his face, something that looks almost like pain. Because 3 days ago, I pulled a woman from a burning car, and she begged me to let her die. His voice drops even lower. And I've been that person, Vera. I've been so broken that death looked like mercy, so I understand why you asked, but I also understand why I couldn't honor that request. What happened to you? He's quiet for so long I think he won't answer. Then, I lost my mate, 2 years ago. She was murdered by a rival pack, and I couldn't save her, couldn't protect her, couldn't. He stops, jaw clenched tight. For a long time after, I wanted to follow her, wanted to stop fighting, wanted the pain to just end. My chest aches for him, this alpha who saved me while carrying his own unbearable weight. What changed? I ask. Tobias, Kieran, my pack. He runs a hand through his hair, and I see how tired he is, how worn. They wouldn't let me go. Wouldn't let me give up. They fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. So now you're paying it forward? Something like that. His mouth curves, not quite a smile. Or maybe I just recognize someone worth saving when I see them. Before I can respond, he moves back to the chair in the corner, creating distance, re-establishing boundaries. Sleep, Vera. We'll figure out who's hunting you. We'll keep you safe. But first, you need to heal. I want to argue, want to tell him that I'm not worth this effort, that he should save his protection for someone who deserves it. But exhaustion is pulling me under again. And my wolf, still silent, still broken, is tired of fighting. Dante? I murmur as sleep claims me. Yeah? Thank you. For not letting me die. The last thing I hear before darkness takes me is his quiet response. Thank you for not dying. The next morning, I wake to sunlight and voices, telling you, something's off about this whole situation. Tobias's voice carries through the closed door. Vera Ashford was rejected 6 months ago by the Raven Hollow Alpha, publicly humiliated, cast out. Why wait this long to kill her? Maybe whoever cut those brake lines didn't wait. Kieran's voice is thoughtful. Maybe there were other attempts we don't know about. Or maybe the threat isn't about her past. Dante's voice makes my skin prickle. Maybe it's about her future. What future? She's packless, mateless. By her own admission, she has nothing. She has stories. This from Kieran. That bag she asked us to save? I looked through it while checking for fire damage. She's a writer. A good one. And some of those manuscripts? They're about pack corruption, abuse of power, alphas who exploit their position. Silence falls like a stone. You think someone's trying to silence her? Tobias sounds skeptical. Kill her over stories that haven't even been published? I think we should ask her. Dante's voice is closer now, like he's moved toward the door. I think we should. He stops mid-sentence, and I realize with a jolt that he knows I'm awake. Knows I've been listening. The door opens, and all 3 of them file in like soldiers reporting for duty. Good morning, Kieran says, moving immediately to check my vitals. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck and then set on fire. I try to sit up, And this time, my body cooperates slightly better. But alive, apparently. Apparently. Tobias hands me a glass of water, and I notice his knuckles are healing. The burns from pulling me out are almost gone. Shifter healing at work. We need to talk about your writing. My stomach drops. You read my manuscripts. Kieran did. Dante leans against the doorframe, arms crossed. With your permission, we'd like to read them too. Why? Because we're trying to figure out who wants you dead, and your stories might be the key. He pauses. Were any of them based on real packs? Real alphas? Drop a comment if you've ever been silenced for telling the truth. Because Vera's voice deserves to be heard, not buried. My hands start shaking, and water sloshes over the rim of the glass. Kieran takes it from me gently. Vera? Dante's voice softens. Were they? I close my eyes and see my father's face. See the new Luna standing beside him. See the way she smiled when I was cast out. See the secrets I learned before the rejection. The things I wasn't supposed to know. Yes, I whisper. One of them was. The energy in the room shifts. Sharpens. Which pack? Tobias asks. I open my eyes and meet Dante's silver gaze. Raven Hollow, I say. I wrote about Raven Hollow. About what Alpha Garrett really is. About what he's done. About the corruption and abuse and... My voice breaks. And I think he found out. Chapter 3. Truth in Ink and Blood. They read the manuscript in silence. I sit propped against pillows, watching 3 wolves devour words I never intended anyone to see. Words I wrote in the dark months after my exile, when rage was the only thing keeping me breathing and ink was the only weapon I had left. The Alpha's lie isn't subtle, isn't metaphorical, isn't dressed up in enough fiction to protect me. It's the truth, barely veiled, about a pack built on fear and maintained through brutality. About an Alpha who presents himself as honorable while running an underground trafficking ring. About wolves who disappear and are never reported missing because they were rogues, or packless, or like me deemed worthless enough that no one would ask questions. Kieran finishes first. Sets the pages down carefully, like they might explode. His healer's hands are steady, but his eyes are furious. This is... He stops, starts again. Vera, if even half of this is true, it's all true. My voice is flat, empty, every word, every name I changed, every location I obscured. It's all real. Tobias looks up from the middle section, the part about the Omega who got pregnant by her fated mate, a visiting Alpha from another pack, and mysteriously died in childbirth. The part where I detailed how Alpha Garrett couldn't allow a child with stronger bloodlines to exist in his territory. The part where I explained, in careful detail, how silver in an IV drip could cause fatal complications that looked like natural causes. You have proof? Tobias asks. Medical records? Witnesses? I was there. The words taste like ash. I was training to be the pack healer before the diagnosis. Before Garrett found out I was barren and decided I was disposable. I saw the records. I was in the room when she died. I knew something was wrong, but I was too young, too inexperienced, My voice cracks. I force myself to continue. I didn't understand what I was seeing until later, until after he rejected me. Until I had time to think about all the small things that never quite made sense. And then I started digging through my memories, through notes I'd kept, through conversations I'd overheard and dismissed as paranoia. Dante hasn't looked up from the pages yet. He's reading the final chapter, the one I wrote 3 weeks ago. The one about the Luna who asked too many questions and ended up at the bottom of Widow's Peak in a car that mysteriously lost its brakes. The one I wrote as fiction because I never imagined it would become prophecy. This Luna, Dante says quietly, still reading. The one in the final chapter, she's you. It's not a question, but I answer anyway. She was supposed to be a version of me, a warning to myself about what happens when you speak truth to power. I laugh, and it's bitter. I didn't know I was writing a blueprint for my own murder. Dante finally looks up, and the expression on his face makes my breath catch. It's not pity. Not sympathy. It's something darker and more dangerous, a cold, calculating fury that transforms him from alpha to apex predator. You were investigating your own pack, he says. building a case against your former mate, documenting crimes that could bring down an entire leadership structure. And you think he just happened to discover you were barren and reject you? The room tilts. What are you saying? I'm saying the timing is convenient. Dante sets the manuscript down with deliberate care. You're training as a healer. You're in position to see things you shouldn't. You're asking questions. And suddenly you develop symptoms of premature ovarian failure? Kieran's head snaps up. Silver poisoning can mimic hormonal dysfunction. If administered in small, consistent doses over several months, it would present as exactly what Vera was diagnosed with. Tobias finishes the thought. His voice is ice. He poisoned her, made her infertile, then used that infertility as justification to cast her out before she could expose him. The walls are closing in. The air is too thick. I can't breathe. No. I shake my head, even as pieces click together in my mind with sickening clarity. No, that's not. I had tests. Multiple doctors confirmed. Doctors in Raven Hollow? Kieran asks gently. Doctors who answer to your alpha? I'm going to be sick. All this time, 6 months of believing I was broken, defective, less than, 6 months of carrying shame like a stone in my chest, of apologizing for existing, of accepting that I deserved rejection because my body had betrayed me, and it was a lie, all of it. A calculated, cruel lie designed to destroy me from the inside out. I push off the bed, ignoring Kieran's protest, ignoring my body's scream of pain. I need air. I need to. Strong hands catch me before I fall. Dante's hands, steady and sure, guiding me back down. Breathe, he orders. Just breathe, Vera. He poisoned me. The words come out broken, fractured. He made me believe I was worthless, and it was all just to silence me, to break me so thoroughly that no one would listen if I tried to speak. Yes. Dante doesn't soften it, doesn't try to cushion the blow. That's exactly what he did. And when casting you out wasn't enough? Tobias adds quietly. When you survived exile and kept writing? He decided to finish what the poison started. I'm shaking. Full body tremors that have nothing to do with silver toxicity and everything to do with rage. Pure, incandescent rage that I've been suppressing for 6 months because I thought I had no right to it. If I was broken, the rejection was justified. If I was defective, the exile made sense. If I was worthless, I had no grounds to be angry. But if it was all manufactured? If my barrenness was weaponized? If my shame was the point? Then I have every right to burn the world down. We need to test her. Kieran is already moving, pulling supplies from his medical bag. Draw blood, check for residual silver, see if there's any chance of reversal. No. Dante's voice cuts through the chaos. First, we keep her alive. Garrett knows she survived the crash, knows she's somewhere with protection, or he would have sent someone to finish the job already. He'll be planning his next move. So what do we do? I ask. My voice sounds strange, detached, like it's coming from somewhere outside my body. Dante's silver eyes meet mine, and something passes between us. Something electric and terrifying and inevitable. We prove what he did, Dante says. We gather evidence. We build a case strong enough that the council can't ignore it. And then we make sure Alpha Garrett Thornwood answers for every crime he's committed. The council won't act on the word of a rejected Packless Omega. Tobias's voice is pragmatic, realistic. They'll dismiss her as vengeful, unstable, looking for attention. They won't dismiss an alpha. Dante straightens, and I see the leader in him, the strategist, the wolf who built a pack from nothing and turned it into something formidable. They won't dismiss the Blackwood Pack's official testimony. You'd do that? I stare at him. Risk your pack's reputation on my word? I'd do that, to stop a corrupt alpha from trafficking wolves and murdering anyone who threatens his power. His jaw sets. Your word is just the catalyst we needed. Like this video if you believe Vera deserves justice, not just survival, because the truth always deserves witnesses. Kieran approaches with a syringe, and I offer my arm without being asked. The needle slides in, and I watch my blood possibly poisoned, possibly the evidence we need fill the vial. How long? I ask. To test for silver concentration and organ damage. 24 hours. Kieran labels the vial with careful precision. To see if the damage is reversible? Longer. Weeks, maybe months of chelation therapy if the concentration is high enough. And if it's not reversible? The three of them exchange glances. Then you adapt, Dante says finally. You heal what can be healed. You live with what can't. You move forward anyway. It's not comfort, not false hope, just brutal, honest truth. And somehow, that's exactly what I need. The rest of the day passes in a blur of activity. Tobias leaves to make contact with allies in neutral territories, Pax who might have information about Ravenhollow's operations. Kieran disappears into a makeshift lab in the basement to run my blood work. And Dante stays. He pulls a chair close to the bed and opens a laptop, pulling up files and documents and maps. Building a case the way a general plans, a war methodically, ruthlessly, without mercy. Tell me everything, he says. Start from the beginning. Before you met Garrett, before you joined Ravenhollow. I need the full picture, so I talk. I tell him about growing up in the Sierra Pack. Small and peaceful and unremarkable. About my mother dying when I was 12, and my father remarrying within a year. About my stepmother's daughter, perfect, powerful, everything. I wasn't becoming the favorite while I faded into the background. I tell him about meeting Garrett at an interpack gathering when I was 19. About being flattered that an alpha noticed me. About believing I was special because he chose me out of dozens of eligible females. Red flag number 1, Dante mutters, typing notes. Predators choose isolated prey. I tell him about the whirlwind courtship, about moving to Ravenhollow, about the mating ceremony that happened so fast I didn't have time to think, to question, to wonder why he was rushing. He needed to bind you before you saw too much, Dante says. Mate bonds make wolves less likely to betray their alpha, make speaking against him feel like self-harm. I tell him about my healer training, about the Omega who died in childbirth, about other incidents that seemed like accidents or bad luck but now, in retrospect, form a pattern. A rogue who challenged Garrett's authority and disappeared the next day. A beta who questioned the pack's finances and was found dead of an apparent heart attack at 32. A visiting alpha who expressed interest in a formal alliance and whose car exploded on the drive home. Dante's fingers fly across the keyboard, cross-referencing dates and names with known incidents. His expression grows darker with each entry. He's been doing this for years, Dante says quietly. At least a decade. Maybe longer. Why hasn't anyone stopped him? Because he's careful. Because he targets wolves no one will miss, rogues, packless, the vulnerable. Because he maintains just enough legitimacy that the council gives him the benefit of the doubt. Dante's voice is tight with barely contained fury. And because people like you, who might speak up, get silenced before they can gather enough evidence to matter. Until now, I say. Until now, he agrees. We work through lunch soup that Kieran brings up with strict instructions that I eat every drop. We work through the afternoon, as shadows lengthen across the cedar walls, and the sun tracks its path toward evening. And somewhere in those hours, something shifts. Dante stops being just the alpha who saved me. Stops being just my protector. Becomes something else, partner, collaborator. Someone who listens to my words like they matter. Like I matter. When I talk about the manuscripts, he doesn't dismiss them as fantasy or therapeutic journaling. He treats them as evidence. Documentation. Testimony that deserves to be heard. When I stumble over memories that shame me, times I saw something wrong and stayed quiet. Times I suspected the truth but chose ignorance, he doesn't judge. Just nods and adds it to the timeline with the same careful attention he gives everything else. You were young, he says at one point. Under his influence. Bound by a mate bond that was designed to keep you compliant. The fact that you saw through it at all is remarkable, Vera. The fact that you survived with your moral compass intact? That's extraordinary. My throat closes. I don't feel extraordinary. No one ever does. He glances up from the screen, and his silver eyes catch the late afternoon light. But that doesn't make it less true. Evening falls, and Kieran returns with my blood work. His expression tells me everything before he opens his mouth. It's silver, he says quietly. concentration consistent with chronic exposure over 6 to 8 months. The levels have dropped significantly in the 3 days since we've been treating you, but the damage to your reproductive system. He pauses. I'm sorry, Vera. It's extensive. Irreversible? My voice is steady, calmer than I expected. I can't say for certain without more specialized testing, but based on what I'm seeing, the likelihood of natural conception is 0. I finish for him. The likelihood is 0. Kieran nods miserably. I should feel something. Grief, maybe. Loss. Rage at having my choices stolen from me. But all I feel is a strange, hollow relief. So I really am barren, I say. Just not the way I thought. You're a survivor of intentional poisoning, Dante corrects sharply. That's not the same thing, isn't it? The result is identical. The result is what Garrett made it. He stands, pacing like the wolf he is. He took your choice, your agency, your future. That's not the same as your body failing you naturally. That's assault, Vera. That's attempted murder that just happened to work slowly. Will the council see it that way? Kieran holds up the blood work. This is medical evidence of chronic silver poisoning. Combined with your testimony and the timeline Dante's building? Yes, they'll see it. They'll have to, Dante adds, because we're not giving them any other choice. Chapter 4. The Bond That Burns. The nightmare returns that night, but different. In this version, I'm back in Garrett's office, but I'm not begging, not broken. I'm standing tall, holding the blood work results in my hand like a weapon. You poisoned me, Dreamy says. You made me believe I was worthless so I wouldn't question why I was suddenly sick. Why my wolf went silent. Why my body betrayed me right when I started asking the wrong questions. Dream Garrett smiles, and it's the smile of a predator who's already won. Prove it, he says. Prove it to the council. Prove it to your pack. Prove it to yourself. You're still just a broken Omega with paranoid delusions and a vendetta against the Alpha who was smart enough to cast you out before you could infect the whole pack with your weakness. The dream shifts, and suddenly I'm drowning. Not in water, in silver. Liquid silver filling my lungs, burning through my veins, destroying me from the inside out while wolves I once called family stand around and watch. Let her drown, my father's voice says. She was always defective. We just didn't know it yet. I wake up choking. But this time, I'm not alone. Dante is beside the bed before I'm fully conscious. Hands on my shoulders, voice cutting through the panic. You're safe. You're here. Breathe with me in for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. I follow his breathing like an anchor. And slowly, the room stops spinning. The phantom taste of silver fades. Reality reasserts itself. How did you know? My voice is ragged. How did you get here so fast? He hesitates, and something flickers across his face. Something he's trying to hide. I was already here, he admits. In the chair, keeping watch. Again. I should tell him it's not necessary. Should insist that I'm fine, that he needs rest too, that an Alpha has better things to do than babysit a broken Omega through nightmares. But I don't, because the truth is, I don't want him to leave. The truth is, having him here makes the darkness less suffocating. The truth is, something about his presence makes my silent wolf stir in ways I don't understand and can't explain. You don't have to do this, I say anyway. Guard me, protect me. Fight my battles. I know. He settles back into the chair but doesn't break eye contact. I'm choosing to anyway. Why? It's the same question I asked before, but this time, his answer is different. Because when I pulled you out of that car, something happened. His voice is careful. Measured, like he's testing each word before releasing it. Something I wasn't expecting. Something I don't fully understand yet. My heart starts racing. What do you mean? I mean my wolf recognized you. He runs a hand through his hair, and I see the struggle in his expression. I mean the moment I touched you, something inside me woke up that's been dormant for 2 years. I mean, he stops. Starts again. I mean I think you're my mate, Vera. My second chance mate. And I don't know what to do with that. The room goes very, very quiet. That's not possible, I whisper. I'm broken. Poisoned. My wolf barely speaks to me anymore. There's no way. Your wolf is quiet because she's healing from chronic poisoning. That doesn't mean she's gone. Dante leans forward, and the intensity in his gaze makes it hard to breathe. And even if she never fully returns, that doesn't change what I felt. What I still feel every time I'm near you. But you lost your mate. Your true mate. I'm not. You're not her. I know that. His voice softens. And I'm not asking you to be. I'm not even asking you to accept the bond right now. You've been through hell, Vera. You're still healing. Still figuring out who you are outside of Garrett's lies. The last thing you need is another alpha claiming you before you've had a chance to claim yourself. Relief and disappointment tangle in my chest. Then why tell me? Because you deserve to know the truth. He holds my gaze. Because I'm not going to be the next man in your life who keeps secrets and manipulates you for his own benefit. Because if we're going to work together to bring down Garrett, you need to understand why I'm so invested in keeping you alive. It's not just about justice. No. He doesn't try to hide it. It's not. I should be angry. Should feel trapped, pressured, like this is just another form of manipulation. Another alpha deciding my worth based on a bond I never asked for. But I don't feel any of those things. What I feel is seen, not as a broken omega, not as a vessel for children I can't have, not as a victim who needs rescuing, just as Vera, as myself, as someone whose autonomy matters more than fate's design. I don't know if I can do this. I admit. Accept another bond. Trust another mate. Believe in anything beyond survival. I'm not asking you to. Dante stands, creating distance again, always giving me space, even when I can feel the pull between us like a physical thing. I'm asking you to heal, to fight, to reclaim everything Garrett tried to take from you. The bond, if you ever want to explore it, can wait. And if I never want to, then it never happens. His voice is absolute. I won't force it, Vera. Won't push it. Won't use it as leverage or manipulation. You've had enough of men who think destiny gives them ownership over your choices. Something in my chest loosens, unfurls. You're not like other alphas, I say quietly. I try not to be. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. Doesn't always work, but I try. We stand in silence for a moment, the weight of his confession hanging between us like smoke. For what it's worth, I finally say, my wolf recognizes you too, even silent, even broken. She knows you're different, important, safe. The expression on his face is worth every ounce of vulnerability it cost me to admit that. Safe, he repeats. That might be the best compliment I've ever received. Don't let it go to your head, Alpha. Wouldn't dream of it. The next morning brings visitors. I'm sitting up in bed, working through physical therapy exercises Kieran prescribed, when I hear multiple voices downstairs. Unfamiliar voices. Tense voices. Dante appears in the doorway a moment later, and his expression is grim. We have a problem, he says. Get dressed. You're going to want to hear this. 10 minutes later, I'm in the safe house's main room, facing 3 wolves I've never seen before. They're dressed in formal council attire, gray suits, official insignias, expressions that give away nothing. Miss Ashford. The woman in the center speaks first. She's older, silver-haired, with eyes that have seen too much and forgiven too little. I'm Counselor Winters. These are my associates, Counselor Park and Counselor Okoye. We're here to discuss your allegations against Alpha Garrett Thornwood. My stomach drops. How did you know about? Alpha Blackwood filed an official complaint yesterday. Counselor Winters' expression doesn't change. Accusations of corruption, trafficking, murder, and intentional poisoning of a mate. These are serious charges that require immediate investigation. Immediate? Tobias, standing behind me with arms crossed, sounds skeptical. The council hasn't moved immediately on anything in decades. The council moves when alphas of Alpha Blackwood's standing present evidence we cannot ignore. Counselor Park speaks for the first time. He's younger, dark-haired, with an accent I can't place. We've reviewed the documentation, the medical records, the manuscript detailing specific incidents with dates and names. If even a fraction of this is accurate, it's all accurate, I say. My voice comes out stronger than I expected. Every word. That's what we're here to determine. Counselor Okoye finally speaks. She's tall, dark-skinned, with a presence that commands the room. We need your full testimony, Miss Ashford. Everything you know, everything you witnessed, everything you can prove. And what about what she can't prove? Dante steps forward, protective. What about the incidents that happened years ago? The wolves who disappeared without a trace? The murders disguised as accidents? We'll investigate those as well. Counselor Winters pulls out a tablet. But first, we need to establish a timeline, starting with your relationship with Alpha Thornwood. So, I tell them, everything. From the moment I met Garrett to the moment I woke up in this safe house with burns covering half my body and wolves I didn't know standing guard over my broken form. I tell them about the Omega who died in childbirth, about the suspicious accidents, about the financial irregularities I noticed in my healer training, supplies ordered that never arrived, funds allocated that disappeared into accounts I couldn't trace. I tell them about the diagnosis, about the rejection, about the 6 months of exile where I tried to rebuild myself from shame and ash and rage that had nowhere to go except onto paper, and I tell them about the manuscript, about writing truth disguised as fiction because I was too afraid to speak it plainly, about sending copies to publishers under a pseudonym because some part of me still believed my words had value, even if I didn't. Did Alpha Thornwood know about the manuscript? Counselor Park asks. I don't know. I was careful. Use different names, different locations. But if he has contacts in the publishing world, I trail off. It's possible someone recognized the details, made the connection. And that's when the brake lines were cut. Counselor Okoye finishes. That's when someone tried to finish what the poison started. I correct. Counselor Winters makes a note on her tablet. We'll need the original medical records from your diagnosis. The ones from Raven Hollow's PAC clinic. They'll be falsified, Kieran interjects, or destroyed by now. Garrett's had 6 months to cover his tracks. Perhaps. But we have Miss Ashford's current blood work showing chronic silver exposure. We have the timeline. We have documentation of other suspicious deaths. Counselor Winters's expression is ice. We have enough to open a formal investigation, enough to freeze Alpha Thornwood's assets, enough to place Raven Hollow under council supervision until we determine the extent of the corruption. Hope flutters in my chest, dangerous and fragile. You believe me? I ask. We believe the evidence, Counselor Park says carefully. Personal belief is irrelevant. What matters is what we can prove in a council tribunal. And what we can prove, Counselor Okoye adds, is significant enough to warrant removing Alpha Thornwood from power while we investigate. He'll fight this. Dante's voice is certain. He'll claim Vera is lying, that she's vengeful, that this is a rejected mate trying to destroy him out of spite. Let him claim what he wants. Counselor Winters stands, and the other two follow suit. We've seen enough evidence to question his leadership, enough to demand answers he won't be able to provide. Enough to... She stops mid-sentence, head tilting like she's listening to something the rest of us can't hear. Then all three counselors move at once, positioning themselves between us and the door, with a synchronization that speaks of training and experience. We have company, Counselor Okoye says quietly. Multiple hostiles, coming fast. Tobias is already moving, pulling weapons from hidden caches I didn't know existed. Kieran grabs my arm, trying to pull me back toward the stairs. But Dante is standing perfectly still, head up, eyes unfocused, listening with senses I don't have access to. It's Garrett, he says, and his voice is granite. He's here, with at least 20 wolves. My blood turns to ice. How did he find us? Does it matter? Tobias checks the clip on a handgun that looks distinctly non-regulation. He's here. We're outnumbered. And the front door explodes inward. Chapter 5. When wolves collide. The world becomes teeth and chaos. Garrett enters first, and seeing him again after 6 months is like being punched in the chest. He's exactly as I remember: golden hair, sharp features, the kind of handsome that hides cruelty behind a charming smile. His eyes find mine across the room, and the hatred in them is so pure it takes my breath away. There you are. His voice is pleasant, conversational, Like we've run into each other at a social gathering instead of him breaking into a safe house with a small army at his back. My lost little mate. I've been so worried about you. Former mate, I correct, and I'm proud that my voice doesn't shake. You severed that bond when you tore the mark from your neck and cast me out. Did I? He takes a step forward, and Dante moves to intercept. The two alphas face each other, and the air itself seems to crackle with barely contained violence. Because from where I stand, you're still mine, Vera, still under my authority, still subject to pack law. She's packless, Counselor Winters says coldly. You made her so. You have no claim here, Alpha Thornwood. Garrett's gaze flicks to the counselors, and something dangerous crosses his face. Interesting. The council moves quickly when a fellow Alpha makes accusations, less quickly when lone Omegas disappear without a trace. I wonder what that says about your priorities. It says we respond to credible evidence, Counselor Park replies, which you're about to help us gather by explaining why you've just committed multiple felonies, breaking and entering, assault on council officials, attempted kidnapping. Kidnapping? Garrett laughs. I'm retrieving stolen property. That manuscript she showed you? Written using information she gained as my mate. Under pack law, any intellectual property created during a mating bond belongs to. That's not how pack law works, and you know it. Dante's voice is deadly quiet. You're desperate, Thornwood. You're here because you know we have enough evidence to destroy you, because you know the council is already investigating, because you know your house of cards is collapsing, and you think if you can silence Vera one more time, you can rebuild it. I think, Garrett says, and his pleasant facade finally cracks, that a broken Omega's accusations aren't worth the paper they're written on. I think a rejected mate, spinning fantasies about poisoning and corruption, is exactly the kind of vindictive behavior the council should punish, not reward. And I think, he moves faster than I can track, shifting mid-sentence. One moment he's a man, the next, he's a massive golden wolf lunging directly at me. But he doesn't reach me, because Dante is faster. The collision happens in mid-air, black wolf meeting gold in a tangle of fur and fangs and violence that's too primal to be called a fight. It's war, two alphas locked in combat with no rules, no mercy, no quarter given. They crash through the far wall, and suddenly the safe house is full of wolves. Garrett's pack streams through the broken door, 20 wolves, like Dante predicted, all of them shifted, all of them moving with the coordination of trained fighters. They're here to kill, to eliminate witnesses, to finish what the break line started. The counselors shift instantly, meeting the first wave with a brutality that reminds me they didn't reach their positions through politics alone. Counselor Okoye is massive in wolf form, gray and silver with scars that speak of battles won. She takes down 2 of Garrett's wolves in seconds. Tobias and Kieran flank me, weapons drawn, creating a barrier between me and the chaos. Upstairs, Kieran orders. Now, there's a panic room. I'm not hiding. The words come out before I can think them through. Not again. Not while you're all fighting my battle. This isn't your battle to fight, Tobias snarls. You can't shift, Vera. You're vulnerable. If they get to you, then Garrett wins. I grab the knife from Kieran's belt before he can stop me. He wins, and every wolf he's ever hurt gets erased. Every crime he's committed gets buried. Every future victim becomes just another casualty of an alpha the council was too slow to stop. Vera, Kieran starts. But I'm already moving. Not toward the fight. I'm not stupid enough to think I can take on shifted wolves with a knife. But toward the stairs. Toward my room. Toward the leather satchel that contains every scrap of evidence I've spent 6 months compiling. If Garrett's here to destroy proof, I need to make sure there's nothing left to destroy. I make it 3 steps before a wolf breaks through the defensive line. It's not one of Garrett's. It's younger, smaller, with brown fur and eyes that are too familiar. Eyes I grew up looking into across dinner tables and pack gatherings. My half-sister, Mara. She shifts mid-leap, landing in human form with supernatural grace, blocking my path to the stairs. Going somewhere, sister? Her voice drips venom. Daddy sent me to make sure you don't run again. Said you've caused enough trouble. Said it's time to come home and accept your punishment like the disgrace you are. Our father sent you? The betrayal shouldn't hurt, not after he stood silent during my exile, not after he chose his new family over his own daughter, but it does. It cuts deep. He's helping Garrett cover this up? Garrett is Pack. Mara circles me like prey. Family, you're neither. Not anymore. You're just a broken Omega with delusions of importance and a death wish. Garrett's happy to fulfill. Behind her, I can hear the fight escalating. Snarls and crashes, and the wet sound of teeth finding flesh. I can hear Dante's wolf. I know it's his somehow. Can feel it in my bones locked in combat with Garrett's. Can feel through some phantom connection that he's winning. But barely. Can feel that if I don't act now, people are going to die protecting me. Get out of my way, Mara. She laughs. Or what? You'll write a story about me? Turn me into a villain in one of your little manuscripts? You're pathetic, Vera. Always have been. Even before you were barren, you were weak. Soft. Everything a wolf shouldn't be. Something in me snaps. Maybe it's the adrenaline. Maybe it's 6 months of suppressed rage finally finding an outlet. Maybe it's the knowledge that I have nothing left to lose. Or maybe, just maybe, it's my wolf finally waking up. She doesn't rise completely. Doesn't give me the shift I've been missing for months. But she lends me something: speed, strength, instinct. Just enough to make me dangerous. I move before Mara can react. Duck under her guard, drive the knife toward her shoulder, not to kill, just to disable, and feel the blade connect with flesh. Mara screams, more from surprise than pain, and staggers back. You stabbed me. She stares at the wound like she can't believe it exists. You actually. I'm done being weak. My voice doesn't sound like mine. Done being soft. Done apologizing for existing. You tell our father, you tell Garrett that Vera Ashford isn't prey anymore. I don't wait for her response. Just push past her, taking the stairs 3 at a time, ignoring the way my healing burns protest the movement. I make it to my room. Grab the satchel. Turn to head back down, and find myself face to face with Garrett. He's shifted back to human form, and he's covered in blood. Some of it his. Most of it, I suspect, Dante's. His eyes are wild, feral, alpha madness burning bright and terrible. You just can't help yourself, can you? He backs me against the wall, and I realize with sickening clarity that there's nowhere left to run. Can't stay quiet, can't accept your place. Can't just die like you were supposed to. The council knows everything. I grip the satchel like a shield. You're finished, Garrett, even if you kill me now. Especially if I kill you now. He leans in close, and I can smell blood and violence, and the wrongness that I mistook for strength 6 months ago. Dead witnesses can't testify. Dead Omegas can't write stories. And a tragic accident, a rejected mate so distraught she attacked her former alpha, and had to be put down in self-defense, plays much better than a conspiracy theory about silver poisoning. His hand wraps around my throat, and I feel my air cut off. This is it. This is how I die. Not in fire, not in exile, but at the hands of the alpha I once believed loved me. My vision starts to gray at the edges. My wolf howls silent still, but they're raging against the unfairness of surviving the poison only to die anyway. And then, Garrett's weight disappears. I collapse, gasping, and look up to see Dante in human form, one hand locked around Garrett's throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighs nothing. You're done. Dante's voice is barely recognizable. Pure alpha command, edged with something darker. You're done hurting her. Done threatening her. Done existing in her space without permission. You think the council will let you kill an alpha? Garrett chokes out. Even a corrupt one? There are rules, Blackwood. Consequences. Then they can try me. Dante's grip tightens. Because I'm willing to face whatever consequences come from ridding the world of a predator who poisons his mates and murders vulnerable wolves for sport. Dante. Counselor Winters appears in the doorway, blood spattered but alive. Don't. We need him alive to testify, to expose the full extent of the corruption. He just tried to kill her. Dante doesn't loosen his grip. In front of council witnesses. That's grounds for execution under Pack law. It is. Counselor Okoye agrees, materializing beside Winters. But a public trial serves justice better than a private execution. Let the world see what he is. Let other alphas understand that this behavior won't be tolerated. Dante's hand trembles. I can see the war in him, the alpha who wants to eliminate the threat permanently versus the leader who understands the value of making examples. Dante. My voice is ragged, but it carries. Let him stand trial. Let him face justice publicly. Let every wolf he's ever hurt see him answer for what he's done. Our eyes meet, and something passes between us. Understanding. Trust. The acknowledgement that revenge isn't the same as justice, no matter how sweet it might feel. Slowly, so slowly, Dante releases his grip. Garrett drops to the floor, gasping. Before he can recover, Counselor Park is there, with silver-reinforced cuffs, locking them around his wrists with brutal efficiency. Garrett Thornwood, Counselor Winters says formally, you are under arrest for corruption, trafficking, murder, attempted murder, and gross abuse of alpha authority. You will be held in council custody pending a full tribunal. Your pack is now under council administration. Your assets are frozen. Your authority is revoked. She pauses, then adds with ice in her voice, you have the right to defend yourself at trial. I suggest you use it. Because the evidence against you is damning, and the council is not inclined toward mercy. Downstairs, the fight is over. Garrett's wolves are subdued, some dead, most captured. A few escaped into the woods but being tracked by Tobias and additional council enforcers who arrived as backup. Mara sits against the wall, holding her wounded shoulder, glaring at me with such pure hatred I can feel it from across the room. My father is nowhere to be seen. Apparently he wasn't brave enough to show his face. Just brave enough to send his new daughter to do his dirty work. The counselors process the scene with professional efficiency. Statements taken, evidence catalogued, bodies removed and weapons confiscated. Through it all, Dante stays close. Not touching, not claiming, just present in a way that makes my wolf settle, makes breathing easier, makes the world feel slightly less like it's actively trying to kill me. You stabbed your sister. He observes quietly. Half-sister. I correct. And she's helped Garrett hunt down rogues for sport. I saw the records. She's as complicit as he is. The council will investigate her too. He's watching me carefully. How do you feel? Like I survived. I look down at my hands, still shaking, but steady enough. Like I fought back. Like maybe I'm not as broken as everyone convinced me I was. You were never broken. His voice is certain. Wounded, yes. Poisoned, absolutely. But broken? No. Broken things don't stab their attackers and run toward danger carrying evidence that could save lives. I laugh, and it's only slightly hysterical. Is that your definition of brave? Because it sounds suspiciously like stupid. Sometimes they're the same thing. Counselor Winters approaches, tablet in hand, expression slightly less forbidding than before. Miss Ashford, your testimony today, combined with the evidence we've gathered from this attack, is sufficient to move forward with a full tribunal. We'll need you to appear as the primary witness. When? 2 weeks. Council headquarters. It will be public pack leaders from across the region will attend. You'll need to recount everything again, under oath, with Garrett present to contest your claims. My stomach churns. He'll try to tear me apart on that stand. He will, she agrees. But you'll have advocates. Alpha Blackwood has offered to stand as your representative. The council will provide additional support. And Miss Ashford? She pauses, and something that might be respect flickers across her face. You've already survived the worst he could throw at you. Survived the poison, survived the exile, survived the break lines and the fire, and his attempt to silence you permanently. Standing on a tribunal platform and telling the truth? That's the easy part. I want to believe her. I want to believe that speaking truth is easier than surviving lies. But as I look at Garrett being led away in silver cuffs, as I see the hatred in his eyes and know he'll spend the next 2 weeks preparing to destroy me one final time, I'm not sure easy is the word I'd use. Drop a like if you believe Vera's fight is just beginning, because sometimes surviving is only the first battle in a much longer war. Chapter 6. Healing Broken Things. The days after Garrett's arrest blur together in a haze of healing and preparation. Kieran keeps me on strict medical protocols, chelation therapy to flush the remaining silver from my system, physical therapy to rebuild strength lost during exile, supplements to repair the damage done to organs that spent months under toxic assault. Your wolf is returning, he tells me on day 5. Checking blood levels that apparently mean something. Slowly, the neural pathways silver damages take time to regenerate, but she's there, fighting to come back to you. Oh, I want to believe him, want to feel her the way I used to, constant presence, steady comfort, the part of me that made me whole. But she's still mostly silent, still mostly absent, still a ghost haunting the edges of my consciousness. What if she doesn't come back completely? I ask. What if the damage is permanent? Kieran's expression is gentle. Then you adapt. Learn to live as you are now. Many wolves live full lives with partial shifts or muted bonds with their animals. It's not ideal, but it's not a death sentence either. Garrett would disagree. Garrett, Kieran says flatly, is a psychopath who measures worth by arbitrary standards designed to maintain his power. His opinion is less than worthless. I laugh despite myself. Tell me how you really feel. I feel like I've spent a week treating silver poisoning that should never have happened. I feel like I've documented injuries on a patient who should never have been harmed. I feel... He stops, jaw tight. I feel like burning Garrett's entire pack to the ground would be justified. And I'm a healer. We're supposed to preserve life, not fantasize about ending it. You're also a wolf, I point out. Wolves protect their pack. I'm guessing Dante's pack is protective. Obsessively. Kieran packs up his medical supplies with sharp, efficient movements. We're small, only 30 wolves total. Most of us came from broken situations. Abusive packs. Failed mate bonds. Exile. Dante doesn't turn away wolves other alphas consider damaged goods. Something warm unfurls in my chest. Is that what I am? Damaged goods he couldn't resist collecting? You're a survivor, he recognized, because he's one too. Kieran meets my eyes. His first mate Lissa was murdered by Alpha Reeves of the Ironwood Pack 2 years ago. Political assassination disguised as a rogue attack. Dante went dark for a while. Tobias and I thought we'd lose him to grief or vengeance or both. What changed? He realized Lissa wouldn't want him to destroy himself. That the best revenge was building something better than what Reeves represented, a pack that valued wolves as individuals, not assets. A leadership structure based on consent, not domination. Kieran's voice softens. You remind him why he started this, why it matters. Because I'm broken? Because you're brave enough to keep fighting even when broken. He stands, heading for the door. There's a difference. Dante and I don't talk about the mate bond. It hangs between us, unacknowledged but present. A thread neither of us is willing to pull yet. Instead, we prepare for the tribunal. He brings files, hundreds of them, documenting cases that might connect to Garrett's crimes, missing wolves whose disappearances were never investigated, financial transactions that don't add up, inter-pack conflicts that ended suspiciously in Garrett's favor. We spread them across the safe house's main room, like pieces of a massive, terrible puzzle. This one. I tap a file dated 3 years ago. Elena Vasquez, visiting Omega from the Coastal Pack, reported missing after a gathering at Raven Hollow. The official report says she left voluntarily, but, Dante looks up from his own stack. But I remember her. She was terrified of Garrett, kept asking pack members if there was somewhere safe she could stay because her own alpha was trying to force a mating. When she disappeared, everyone just assumed she'd gone rogue. I close my eyes, pulling up memories I've tried to suppress. I saw Garrett talking to her the night she vanished. Saw him lead her toward the guest quarters. She never came out. Dante adds her file to a growing pile marked probable victims. The stack is already 12 files deep. 12 wolves who might have died because an alpha decided they were expendable. The tribunal will argue circumstantial evidence, Dante says quietly, that we're drawing connections that don't exist. Building conspiracy theories from coincidence. Are we? No. His voice is certain, but proving it will be harder than living it. Garrett's good at covering his tracks, good at making sure witnesses are either complicit or dead, except me, except you. He looks at me, and something in his gaze makes my breath catch. You're the anomaly he didn't plan for. The witness who survived long enough to speak. The evidence he can't bury or burn. No pressure. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. You stabbed your sister and ran toward an active combat zone, carrying classified documents while recovering from major burns and silver poisoning. I think you can handle pressure. That was adrenaline and stupidity. That was courage. He sets down the file he's holding, giving me his full attention. Stop diminishing yourself, Vera. Stop using their words to describe your actions. You're not stupid. You're not weak. You're not any of the things Garrett convinced you to believe. Then what am I? The question comes out smaller than I intended, more vulnerable than I want to be. Dante is quiet for a long moment, studying me with those silver eyes that see too much. You're a survivor who became a warrior, he finally says. A wolf who lost her voice and found it again in ink and blood. A woman who was told she was worthless and proved she was invaluable. He pauses. You're my mate, whether you accept that bond or not. And you're the bravest person I've met in a very long time. My throat closes. I don't feel brave. No one ever does. He echoes his words from before. But that doesn't make it less true. On day 8, my wolf speaks. Not fully, not clearly. But there a whisper in the back of my mind that isn't just instinct or imagination. Safe, she murmurs. Home. I'm sitting on the safe house porch when it happens, watching sunset paint the forest gold and red. Dante is beside me, close but not touching, presence that's become as familiar as breathing. She's back, I say quietly. He doesn't ask who. Just, what's she saying? That she feels safe. That this... I gesture to the house, the woods. Him. Feels like home. Does it? His voice is careful. Feel like home to you? I consider the question honestly. This house isn't mine. This pack isn't mine. This alpha isn't mine, not in any way that's been claimed or formalized or made official. But sitting here, watching the day end while he watches me, while his wolves patrol the perimeter and keep threats at bay, while Kieran and Tobias argue good-naturedly about dinner inside, it feels more like home than anywhere I've been in 6 months, more like home than Raven Hollow ever was. Yeah, I admit. It does. Dante doesn't react visibly, but I feel something shift between us. Some invisible barrier lowering, just slightly. The tribunal is in 6 days, he says, changing the subject before the moment can become too heavy. The council wants us there 3 days early for prep. Strategy sessions, mock cross-examinations, security briefings. Sounds fun. It won't be. He's blunt. Garrett's hired one of the best defense advocates in the region. Former council prosecutor who knows every loophole and technicality. He'll try to discredit you 6 ways before breakfast. How? He'll argue you're mentally unstable from the rejection. That you're fabricating evidence out of revenge. That your testimony is unreliable because you were his mate, that the bond clouded your judgment and makes you biased. Dante ticks off points like he's reading from a script. He'll bring up your barrenness. Suggest you're deflecting shame by attacking him. He'll make you look paranoid, vindictive, and desperate for attention. Each word is a knife, precise and cutting. So I'm going to lose. No. Dante turns to face me fully. You're going to win because we're going to prepare you for every argument he makes. Because we have evidence beyond your testimony, medical records, financial documents, patterns of behavior. Because the council isn't stupid, and they know a predator when they see one. And if that's not enough, then I invoke Alpha's challenge. His voice is flat. Final. I challenge Garrett's right to defend himself under pack law. Force him into ritual combat where council prosecutors can't save him with legal maneuvering. That's... I stop. Start again. That's declaring blood feud. That's risking your life, your pack's standing, your entire future on you. He doesn't flinch from it. Yes. Why? It's the same question I keep asking, and he keeps finding new ways to answer. Because you matter. Simple, absolute. Because what happened to you matters. Because if the system won't deliver justice, then I will. I should tell him not to. should insist that I'm not worth that kind of sacrifice, that he's already done more than enough. But I'm tired of diminishing myself, tired of apologizing for taking up space, tired of pretending that his protection doesn't mean everything. Thank you, I say instead, for all of it, for pulling me from the fire, for fighting for me, for making me remember what it feels like to matter to someone. You always mattered, Vera. His voice is rough. You just forgot. And he made sure you stayed forgetful. We sit in silence as the sun sinks below the horizon and stars begin to emerge. The forest around us is alive with night sounds, owls hunting, deer moving through underbrush, the distant howl of wolves who aren't threats, just neighbors acknowledging the moon. My wolf stirs again, stronger this time. Mate, she whispers. Ours. And for the first time in 6 months, I don't argue with her. Day 10 brings unexpected visitors. I'm in the kitchen helping Tobias prep lunch when Kieran bursts through the door, expression urgent. We have a problem. Dante appears from his office instantly. What kind? The kind where Counselor Winters just called to say 3 more Omegas have come forward. Wolves from Raven Hollow who saw the news of Garrett's arrest and finally felt safe enough to speak. Kieran's voice is tight. They're all claiming similar stories. Poisoning, forced rejections, being cast out after they started asking questions or threatened pack hierarchy. The room goes very, very quiet. How many? I ask. 3 confirmed. But Winters thinks there might be more. She's opened a hotline for anonymous tips. It's been live for 6 hours and they've already received 47 calls. 47. 47 wolves who might have been poisoned, abused, discarded like I was. 47 potential victims of an Alpha the Council, allowed to operate unchecked for years. This changes things, Dante says slowly. This isn't one Omega's word against an Alpha's anymore. This is a pattern, a system, proof of coordinated abuse on a scale that can't be dismissed or explained away. It also makes Vera's testimony even more critical, Tobias adds. She's the only one with physical evidence. The only one whose medical records show current silver poisoning. The others were cast out months or years ago. Their blood work is clean now. Their story's harder to corroborate. So I'm still the linchpin. My hands are shaking. I set down the knife I've been using to chop vegetables. If I fall apart on that stand, you won't. Dante's voice cuts through my spiral. You won't. Because you're not alone anymore. Because 47 wolves are counting on you to speak for them. Because justice isn't just about you now, it's about everyone he's ever hurt. Subscribe if you think Vera can do this. Because sometimes one voice speaking truth is all it takes to break the silence that protects predators. No pressure, I mutter, echoing my earlier words. No, Dante agrees. Just purpose. That night, I dream again. But this time, it's not fire, not Garrett, not shame burning me from the inside out. This time, I dream of wolves. 47 of them, standing in a circle around me. Some I recognize Elena Vasquez, the Omega who vanished 3 years ago. Others are strangers, but I know their stories anyway. Know their pain. Know their rage. You're not alone, they say in unison. You were never alone. We've been waiting for someone brave enough to speak, someone strong enough to survive, someone who wouldn't let him win. I'm not brave, Dream Me protests. I'm terrified. Bravery isn't the absence of fear, Elena says. It's speaking anyway, fighting anyway, surviving anyway. The dream shifts, and suddenly I'm standing on a platform, the tribunal, Garrett across from me, smiling that predator's smile. But behind me stand 47 wolves, silent witnesses, invisible jury, proof that I'm not paranoid, not vindictive, not alone. Tell them, they whisper. Tell them everything. We'll be there. We'll hold you up when you falter. We'll lend you our voices when yours breaks. We'll make sure he can't silence us ever again. I wake with tears on my face and Dante in the doorway. Another nightmare? He asks quietly. No. I wipe my eyes. A reminder that this is bigger than me, bigger than my pain or my fear, or my need for personal justice. He crosses the room, sits on the edge of the bed, maintains that careful distance even as everything in me wants him closer. The tribunal is in 4 days, he says. Are you ready? I think about Garrett's smile, about the cross-examination designed to break me, about standing in front of pack leaders and council members and recounting every humiliation, every wound, every moment he made me believe I was worthless. I think about 47 wolves who are counting on me not to break. No, I admit, but I'll do it anyway. That's all anyone can ask. We sit in comfortable silence, and my wolf, growing stronger every day, presses against my consciousness with something that feels like determination. We can do this, she says. We can be strong enough. And for the first time since Dante pulled me from that burning car, I believe her. Chapter 7. The Tribunal. Council headquarters is nothing like I imagined. I expected cold marble and sterile halls, the kind of architecture designed to intimidate. Instead, it's warm cedar and soaring glass, with windows that overlook ancient forests and let in so much light I have to squint. It's meant to remind us what we're protecting. Counselor Winters explains as she leads us through security. The wild places. The old ways. The pack bonds that existed before politics corrupted them. Dante walks beside me, close enough that our shoulders brush. Tobias and Kieran flank us like guards. And I realize that's exactly what they are. Not just friends, not just pack, but warriors willing to stand between me and anything that might try to break me before I can speak. The defense will try to separate you from your advocates during prep. Winters continues. Claim that Alpha Blackwood is coaching your testimony, influencing your memories. They'll argue that anything you say is contaminated by his bias. Is it? I ask. Contaminated? She stops, turns to face me directly. Did Alpha Blackwood tell you what to say? No. Did he pressure you to embellish or fabricate details? No. Did he offer you anything: protection, status, money in exchange for testimony against Garrett? He offered protection because someone cut my brake lines and tried to murder me. Everything else, I gesture to the files Tobias carries. The evidence we've spent 2 weeks compiling is just the truth. Winters's expression doesn't change, but something that might be approval flickers in her eyes. Good. Remember that clarity when they try to confuse you. The truth is simple. Lies require elaborate construction. She leads us to a conference room where 2 other wolves wait. One is a woman in her 40s with iron gray hair, and the bearing of someone who spent decades in combat. The other is younger, male, with the kind of sharp eyes that catalog everything. This is Advocate Reina Cortez. Winters introduces the woman. She'll be presenting the council's case against Garrett. And this is Investigator James Okonkwo. He's been coordinating the testimony from the other victims. Victims, plural, real. How many came forward? I ask. 53 now, Okonkwo says. More every day. We're vetting each claim, cross-referencing timelines, looking for corroboration. So far, 32 have provided enough detail to include in the formal charges. 32 wolves. 32 lives Garrett destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Miss Ashford, Reina's voice is businesslike but not unkind. You'll testify first. You have the most recent evidence, the clearest timeline, and the physical proof we need to establish pattern. The defense will try to break you. I need to know, can you hold under that kind of pressure? I think about 6 months of exile. About waking up every morning wondering if today was the day I'd give up. About the fire and the crash and the moment I begged Dante to let me die. I think about surviving all of it. Yes, I say, I can hold. The mock cross-examination is brutal. Reina plays herself methodical, building the case step by step. But Tobias volunteers to play Garrett's advocate, and he's vicious. Miss Ashford, you claim Alpha Thornwood poisoned you with silver. Yet you have no proof he personally administered any such substance, correct? I have proof I was poisoned. Medical records show. Medical records show silver in your system. They don't show who put it there. For all we know, you poisoned yourself to create sympathy, to manufacture evidence for a vendetta against an alpha who rightfully rejected you for infertility. My hands clench under the table. Why would I poison myself? Attention? Revenge? Mental instability brought on by the trauma of rejection? Tobias's voice is deliberately cruel. You're a writer, Miss Ashford. You create fiction for a living. How do we know this entire story isn't just another one of your creative fantasies? Because 32 other wolves have. 32 other wolves who conveniently came forward only after your accusations made headlines, who might be seeking attention, or settlement money, or their own revenge against an alpha they believe is now vulnerable. He leans forward. Or perhaps they're simply following your script. After all, you did write a very detailed manuscript about pack corruption. Easy enough for opportunists to claim similar experiences. Rage burns through me, hot and righteous. You think I'm lying? You think we're all lying? I think you're a rejected Omega with a persecution complex and a talent for storytelling. I think you've convinced yourself your fiction is fact because the alternative that you really are just barren and your mate was right to cast you out is too painful to accept. I'm on my feet before I realize I'm moving, hands slamming against the table hard enough to rattle the water glasses. I am not lying. Each word is a bullet. Garrett Thornwood poisoned me systematically for 8 months. He made me believe my body was failing when really he was destroying it. He rejected me not because I was barren, but because I was asking questions he couldn't answer. He tried to kill me when I survived exile and kept documenting his crimes. And you can question my sanity, my motives, my mental state all you want, but the blood work doesn't lie. The pattern doesn't lie. The bodies of wolves who disappeared under his watch don't lie. Tobias straightens, dropping the act. Good. That's the fire you need. That's what will win the tribunal. I collapse back into my chair, shaking. How was that good? I lost my temper. You spoke truth with conviction. Reyna interrupts. That's what juries remember. Not the perfect responses, but the real ones. The moments when emotion breaks through preparation and shows them who you really are. But the defense will use that, Dante says quietly. They'll say she's emotional, unstable, too traumatized to be reliable. Let them. Reyna's smile is sharp. Because every wolf watching will see a survivor speaking her truth despite being attacked for it. We'll see the pattern that 32 other testimonies corroborate. We'll see that the only people calling her unstable are the ones invested in protecting Garrett. She pauses, studying me with those calculating eyes. Miss Ashford, here's what you need to understand about tomorrow. The defense will try to make this about you, your credibility, your mental state, your motivations. But this case isn't about you. It's about him. About a pattern of abuse so extensive it required institutional failure to operate unchecked. Your job isn't to be perfect. It's to be honest. To speak truth, even when it hurts. To show them that wolves like Garrett only survive when wolves like you stay silent. And if honest isn't enough, then we have 32 backup testimonies and medical evidence from 3 independent healers. She taps the files stacked beside her. But it will be. Because you're not just any victim, Vera. You're the one who survived long enough to fight back. That night, I can't sleep. The council has provided rooms in the headquarters compound, secure, comfortable, monitored. Dante is 3 doors down. Tobias and Kieran are on the same floor. I'm as safe as it's possible to be, but safety doesn't stop the nightmares. I lie awake, staring at unfamiliar ceilings, running through testimony in my mind. Preparing for attacks I know are coming. Trying to armor myself against accusations that will cut deep, precisely because part of me still believes them. Maybe I am making too much of this. Maybe Garrett was right to reject me. Maybe I am just a bitter, vengeful Omega creating drama where none exists. Stop. My wolf's voice cuts through the spiral, stronger than she's been in months. Those are his words. His lies, not our truth. How do I know the difference? I whisper into the darkness. Because our truth doesn't require us to be small, doesn't demand we apologize for existing, doesn't insist we were broken before he broke us. A knock on the door interrupts my conversation with myself. I know who it is before I answer. Can feel him through the bond neither of us has acknowledged but both of us carry. Dante stands in the hallway, barefoot, wearing sleep pants and a t-shirt that does nothing to hide the lethal grace of a predator who never fully relaxes. Couldn't sleep either? I ask. I can hear your heartbeat through the walls. He doesn't apologize for the invasion of privacy. You're spiraling. I'm preparing. You're catastrophizing. He leans against the doorframe, not coming in without invitation. There's a difference. I should send him away. Should maintain boundaries and distance, and all the things that protect people from getting hurt when things inevitably fall apart. Instead, I step back. Come in. He does, moving past me into the small room, and suddenly the space feels impossibly intimate. We've been living in the same house for 2 weeks, but this is different. This is private quarters and night hours, and vulnerability I'm too tired to hide. Talk to me, he says quietly. Tell me what you're afraid of. Everything. The word comes out broken. I'm afraid I'll freeze on the stand. I'm afraid I'll cry or rage or break down in exactly the way they expect. I'm afraid they'll look at me and see what Garrett saw: damaged goods, not worth the effort of justice. They won't. You don't know that. I know that anyone who looks at you and sees weakness is blind. His voice is absolute. I know that you've survived things that would have destroyed stronger wolves. I know that your courage isn't the loud kind that announces itself, it's the quiet kind that keeps breathing when breathing feels impossible. Keeps fighting when fighting seems pointless. Keeps speaking truth, even when silence would be safer. That's not courage. That's just stubbornness. Sometimes they're the same thing. He moves closer, and my wolf rises to meet him, no longer silent, no longer absent, finally returning to herself. Vera, listen to me. Tomorrow you're going to walk into that tribunal hall, and you're going to tell your story. And it's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. There will be moments when you want to run, or hide, or take back every word. Very motivational. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. I'm not finished. You'll want to run, but you won't. You'll want to hide, but you won't. You'll want to take it back, but you won't. Because you're not that person anymore. You're not the wolf Garrett tried to break. You're the one who survived his breaking and came back stronger. Tears burn behind my eyes. What if stronger isn't enough? Then you have me. Simple. Devastating. You have Tobias and Kieran and Raina, and 32 other wolves who are betting everything on your voice. You have a council that's finally paying attention. You have evidence that can't be denied and truth that can't be buried. He pauses, and when he speaks again, his voice is rough with emotion. And you have a mate who will burn the world down before letting Garrett hurt you again. The word hangs between us. Mate. Acknowledged. Real. Dante, I'm not asking for anything, he says quickly. Not claiming you, not demanding the bond be recognized. I just need you to know tomorrow, when you're on that stand and it feels like the whole world is judging you, I'll be there. Your mate. Your alpha. Your pack. Whatever you need me to be. I close the distance between us, before conscious thought catches up to action. Rise on my toes, press my lips to his. The kiss is soft, gentle, nothing like the claiming kisses I've read about or experienced before. There's no dominance in it, no possession, just two broken people finding comfort in each other's brokenness. When we break apart, his eyes are molten silver. What was that for? His voice is rough. For being you. For seeing me. For making me believe I'm worth fighting for. I rest my forehead against his chest, and his arms come around me carefully, like I'm something precious, something that might shatter if held too tight. For pulling me from the fire and never once asking me to be grateful I survived. You don't owe me gratitude, Vera. I know. I look up at him. That's why I want to give it anyway. We stand like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other, not quite claiming but not quite distant either, existing in the space between what we are and what we might become. Stay, I finally whisper. Just stay, until morning. I don't want to face the nightmares alone tonight. I'll stay as long as you need me. He guides me to the bed, stays on top of the covers while I slip beneath them, maintaining propriety even in intimacy. His hand finds mine in the darkness, and that simple touch is enough. Enough to quiet the spirals, enough to gentle the wolf, pacing anxiously in my mind. Enough to let me finally sleep. And for the first time in 6 months, I don't dream of burning. Chapter 8. Truth and Fire. The tribunal hall is everything the rest of council headquarters isn't. Cold marble, high ceilings, rows of seats filled with pack leaders and council members, and wolves whose judgment will determine whether Garrett faces consequences or walks free to destroy more lives. I sit at the witness table, hands folded to hide their shaking, while Advocate Raina presents the opening statement. Her voice is clear, methodical, damning. Alpha Garrett Thornwood stands accused of corruption, trafficking, murder, and systematic abuse of power spanning at least a decade. The evidence will show a pattern of behavior designed to eliminate threats, silence witnesses, and maintain authority through fear and violence. Miss Vera Ashford is not the first wolf he targeted, but she is the first to survive long enough to expose him. Across the room, Garrett sits at the defense table, wearing an expensive suit and an expression of wounded innocence. His advocate, a silver-haired wolf named Donovan Cross who radiates calculated menace, looks like a predator waiting to strike. Dante sits behind me in the gallery, and I can feel his presence like a physical thing, anchoring me, reminding me I'm not alone. The council calls Vera Ashford to testify. I stand on legs that threaten to buckle and make my way to the witness stand. The oath is simple. I swear to speak truth before this council, but the weight of it nearly breaks me. Raina approaches first, and her questions are gentle. Establishing timeline, building foundation. Miss Ashford, when did you first meet Alpha Thornwood? 4 years ago. At an interpack gathering. And what was your impression of him? Charming, attentive, everything I thought an alpha should be. My voice is steady. That's good, that's important. He made me feel special, chosen. When did you mate? 6 months after we met. He said waiting longer was archaic. That when you knew, you knew. I swallow hard. I believed him. When did you begin healer training? 2 years ago, Garrett encouraged it. Said having a Luna with medical knowledge would benefit the pack. And during that training, did you witness anything unusual? This is it. The foundation for everything that follows. Yes. An Omega named Elena Vasquez died during childbirth. The official cause was complications, but the symptoms didn't match. She presented with silver toxicity markers, seizures, organ failure, hemorrhaging, but no one questioned it. When I asked the head healer about inconsistencies in her chart, he told me to focus on my studies and stop asking questions above my station. Did you? No, I started documenting. Small things at first: supply orders that didn't match inventory, medical records that disappeared, wolves who came to clinic with injuries they wouldn't explain. I thought maybe I was seeing patterns that weren't there. Maybe I was paranoid. When did you realize you weren't? When I started experiencing symptoms myself. My hands clench. Fatigue. Irregular cycles. Pain that healers couldn't explain. And then the diagnosis: premature ovarian failure. Permanent infertility. How did Alpha Thornwood react? He rejected me. Simple words for a devastating reality. Tore the mate mark from his neck and announced to the pack that I was defective. That a Luna who couldn't provide heirs was worthless. That I was being cast out for the good of Raven Hollow. Did you suspect poisoning at that time? No. I believed I was broken. That my body had failed. That I deserved rejection. The words taste like ash. It wasn't until months later, after I had time to review my medical records and cross-reference them with Elena's case, that I saw the pattern. The gradual onset. The specific symptoms. The timing that coincided with me asking too many questions. Raina holds up a document. This is your blood work from 3 weeks ago, taken by council-certified healer Kieran Frost. Can you tell the tribunal what it shows? Chronic silver exposure. Concentration consistent with systematic poisoning over 6 to 8 months. And this document? She holds up another. Your original diagnosis from Raven Hollow Clinic? It shows infertility with no clear cause, no mention of silver, no investigation into environmental factors. I meet her eyes, because the healers knew what was causing it. They just couldn't document what the Alpha ordered them to do. Murmurs ripple through the gallery. Raina lets them settle before continuing. Miss Ashford, after your exile, did you attempt to contact authorities? No. Why not? Because I believed I was nobody, nothing. A rejected Omega with no proof and no credibility. Who would believe me against an established Alpha? So what did you do instead? I wrote. My voice strengthens. I documented everything I remembered, everyone I'd seen hurt, every incident that never made sense. I turned it into a manuscript because fiction felt safer than accusations, because story felt like the only weapon I had left. And did Alpha Thornwood discover this manuscript? I believe so. 3 weeks after I submitted it to publishers under a pseudonym, someone cut my brake lines and I crashed on Widow's Peak. If Alpha Blackwood hadn't pulled me from the burning car, I would have died. Objection. Cross stands, voice smooth as poison. Speculation. Miss Ashford has no proof Alpha Thornwood was responsible for the mechanical failure. Sustained. The head counselor rules. Stick to what you can prove, advocate Raina. Raina doesn't miss a beat. Miss Ashford, when Alpha Blackwood's pack provided you sanctuary, did Alpha Thornwood attempt to retrieve you? Yes. He broke into the safe house with 20 wolves, attempted to kill me in front of council witnesses. Said, I close my eyes, pulling up the exact words. He said dead witnesses can't testify. That a tragic accident where a rejected mate attacked her former alpha would play better than conspiracy theories about poisoning. And these council witnesses can corroborate? We can. Counselor Winters stands from her seat in the gallery. Alpha Thornwood made direct threats against Miss Ashford's life. Attempted strangulation. Admitted his intent to silence her permanently. These actions are recorded in our official report. The murmurs become outright conversation. The head counselor bangs a gavel for order. Thank you, Miss Ashford. Raina returns to her seat. Your witness. Advocate Cross. This is the part I've been dreading. Cross approaches the stand like a wolf circling wounded prey. His smile is professional, but his eyes are calculating. Miss Ashford, you've told us quite a story. Poison, conspiracy, attempted murder, very dramatic, very compelling, also conveniently unprovable in most specifics. It's not a story, it's what happened. Is it? Or is it what you've convinced yourself happened because the alternative is too painful? He pulls out a document. This is a psychological evaluation from Raven Hollow's pack therapist, conducted 1 month before your diagnosis. It notes increasing paranoia, obsessive behavior, and difficulty accepting criticism. Does that sound familiar? My stomach drops. I was being poisoned. Symptoms of silver toxicity include paranoia. Yes. How convenient. Every piece of evidence that suggests you were mentally unstable can be reframed as proof of poisoning. Every question mark becomes a conspiracy. Every rejection becomes attempted murder. That's not. Let me ask you this, Miss Ashford. How many sexual partners did you have before Alpha Thornwood? The question is a slap. Designed to shock, to shame, to throw me off balance. I don't see how that's relevant. Answer the question. 2. My voice is ice. I had 2 previous partners. And did either of them reject you? One did, after a year. He said, I stop, seeing the trap. He said what, Miss Ashford? He said I was too intense, too questioning, that I made him feel inadequate. Cross's smile widens. So, you have a pattern of being rejected by mates. A pattern of partners finding you difficult, questioning, intense. Is it possible that Alpha Thornwood's rejection was simply the continuation of that pattern? That your infertility was merely the catalyst, not a conspiracy? Rage burns through me, white-hot and pure. My infertility was caused by intentional poisoning. The blood work proves you had silver in your system 3 weeks ago. It doesn't prove who put it there, when, or why. For all we know, you poisoned yourself to create evidence, to manufacture sympathy. 2. Why would I poison myself? I'm shouting now, propriety abandoned. Why would I destroy my own body, spend 6 months in exile believing I was worthless, drive off a cliff and nearly die in the fire, all to frame an alpha who could have just ignored me? That's not paranoia, Advocate Cross. That's your client's defense falling apart because you can't explain away 32 other wolves with identical stories. The hall erupts. Cross tries to speak over it, but the head counselor bangs the gavel again. Order. We will have order. When silence finally falls, Cross tries again. These 32 wolves you mention, how many of them came forward before your accusations made headlines? None, I admit. They were afraid. Or they saw an opportunity, a chance to join a trending narrative, to claim victim status and seek settlement from a wealthy pack. He leans against the witness stand. Miss Ashford, isn't it true that you've received offers from publishers for your manuscript since this case went public? That you stand to profit substantially from these accusations? My hands are shaking again. I wrote that manuscript in exile. When I had nothing. When I thought no one would ever. Please answer the question. Have you received offers? Yes, I whisper. 3 publishers have. So you're profiting from these accusations, turning trauma real or imagined into a lucrative book deal, turning your rejection into a career opportunity. That's not why I wrote it, isn't it? You're a writer, Miss Ashford, a storyteller, someone who creates compelling narratives for a living. How do we know this entire case isn't just another story? Another manuscript you're workshopping in real time with counsel resources and public sympathy? I can't breathe. Can't think. Can't find words to counter the poison he's spreading because part of me, the part that still believes Garrett's lies, wonders if he's right. And then Dante stands. Objection. His voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. Advocate Cross is testifying instead of questioning. He's creating narrative where evidence exists. And he's doing it because his client has no defense against the truth. Alpha Blackwood, the head counselor, says wearily, "You're not a party to these proceedings. You can't object." Then I'm making it official. I'm invoking Alpha's right of challenge. Dante's voice is absolute. I challenge Garrett Thornwood's right to hide behind legal maneuvering. I demand ritual combat to settle what your tribunal seems unable to decide, whether he's a criminal or a victim of false accusations. The hall goes dead silent. Garrett rises slowly, and his smile is terrible. Finally, I was wondering when the White Knight would try to save his broken Omega. He looks at Dante with pure contempt. You think you can beat me in ritual combat? I've held my territory for 15 years. I've killed challengers stronger than you. You've poisoned mates who asked questions and murdered wolves who threatened your power, Dante interrupts. But you've never faced someone with nothing to lose and every reason to end you. Challenge accepted. Garrett's voice is eager. When? Now. Dante's already moving toward the arena entrance at the back of the hall. Unless you need time to prepare? To poison my water? To cut my hamstrings before the fight? Garrett snarls, shifting mid-stride. And suddenly the tribunal becomes something else. War. The arena is ancient stone, and dirt a circle designed for exactly this purpose. Settling disputes that law can't touch. Answering questions that evidence can't prove. I'm pressed against the barrier with Tobias and Kieran on either side, watching 2 alphas circle each other in wolf form. Dante is larger, black fur and silver eyes, moving with lethal precision. Garrett is golden and fast, using speed to compensate for the size difference. They clash in the center, and the sound is bone and fury. Garrett goes for the throat classic alpha dominance, but Dante twists away, using Garrett's momentum against him. Teeth find shoulder instead of jugular, and blood darkens golden fur. He's faster than Dante expected, Tobias mutters. Garrett's fought more challenges. He knows how to. Garrett lands a blow that sends Dante sprawling, presses the advantage, jaws closing around Dante's front leg. I hear the bone crack from 20 feet away. No. The word tears out of me. No, no, no. Dante roars pain and rage, and something that sounds like my name, and does something I've never seen. Instead of trying to break free, he twists into the hold, using Garrett's grip as leverage to flip them both. They roll, tearing chunks from each other, painting the arena floor with blood that belongs to both. Submit, Garrett snarls, forcing the shift to speak. Submit and I'll let you live. Let your pack survive. Let your broken mate watch you crawl away in shame. Dante's response is teeth in Garrett's throat. Not enough to kill, enough to pin, enough to make Garrett choose submit or die. The challenge is over when one yields or dies, the head counselor announces. Alpha Thornwood, do you yield? Garrett's eyes find mine across the arena, and in them, I see hatred so pure it steals my breath. You've destroyed everything, he rasps. My pack, my reputation, my future. all because you couldn't accept that you were worthless. I destroyed nothing, I say, and my voice carries across the sudden silence. You did. With every wolf you poisoned, every mate you rejected, every murder you disguised as accident. I just made sure everyone else could see what you really are. Then I'll make sure. He tries to move, tries to break free, tries one last desperate attempt to reach me, even with Dante's jaws locked around his throat. Dante doesn't give him the chance. The kill is quick. Merciful. More merciful than Garrett deserved. When it's done, Dante shifts back to human form, standing over Garrett's body with blood, coating his mouth and tears on his face. It's finished, he says quietly. The head counselor calls the tribunal to order an hour later, after healers have tended wounds and the arena has been cleared. In light of Alpha Thornwood's death in ritual combat, this council finds the accusations against him credible and corroborated. Raven Hollow Pack is hereby dissolved. Its members will be redistributed to neighboring packs, pending individual evaluations. Those found complicit in criminal activity will face separate tribunals. She pauses, looking directly at me. Miss Ashford, your testimony was instrumental in exposing systematic abuse that has plagued multiple territories. The council formally apologizes for failing to investigate earlier, for allowing an alpha's authority to supersede the welfare of those under his power, and for the suffering you and 32 other wolves endured because we didn't listen. I nod, unable to speak past the knot in my throat. Additionally, Counselor Winters adds, the council is establishing a task force to investigate similar patterns in other packs, to create reporting mechanisms for wolves who experience abuse, to ensure that what happened in Raven Hollow can never happen again. It's not enough. Can't be enough. 32 wolves will carry their trauma forever. Elena Vasquez and others like her are still dead, but it's something. It's justice, imperfect, incomplete, but real. That night, back at the safe house, I finally let myself break. Dante finds me on the porch, tears streaming down my face, body shaking with sobs I've held back for 6 months. It's over, I gasp. It's really over and I don't know what to do now. I don't know who I am without the fight, without the rage, without... You're Vera. He pulls me into his arms, and I go willingly. You're a survivor who became a warrior. A wolf who found her voice and used it to save others. You're my mate, if you'll have me. My partner, if you'll accept me. My pack, if you'll choose us. I don't have anything to offer, I whisper. I'm still broken, still barren, still the bravest person I know. He tilts my face up, silver eyes fierce. Still the wolf who looked at impossible odds and fought anyway. Still the woman I pulled from fire and fell in love with watching her reclaim herself from ash. You love me? Desperately. Completely. Probably have since the moment you asked me to save your manuscripts before saving you. His thumb wipes away tears. But only if you want this. Want me. Want the pack and the bond and the life we could build together. I won't claim you out of obligation or destiny, only choice. I think about 6 months ago, about the woman who believed she was worthless, who drove up to Widow's Peak, with no plan except maybe letting go. I think about the woman I am now, scarred, still healing, but whole in ways that have nothing to do with fertility or pack status or alpha approval. I think about Dante who saw value when I saw none, who fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself, who loves me not despite my brokenness but including it. I choose you, I say. I choose us. I choose the life where I'm not defined by what I can't do, but celebrated for what I can. His kiss is answer enough. Epilogue. 6 months later. The Alpha's Lie publishes to critical acclaim and commercial success. The proceeds go to establishing a sanctuary for wolves, escaping abusive packs, a safe house network that grows to span 3 territories. 32 wolves testify in follow-up tribunals. 15 pack officials are removed from power. The council implements new oversight protocols. My wolf returns fully 3 months after the tribunal. My first shift in over a year is messy, painful, and absolutely perfect. Dante is there, guiding me through it, celebrating every moment. We mate properly 6 months to the day after he pulled me from the fire. The ceremony is small, just his pack, the counselors who believed me, and the wolves I saved by speaking. I remain barren. The silver damage was permanent, but I am not broken. I am a wolf who survived, who fought back, who turned pain into purpose and trauma into testimony that changed laws and saved lives. I am Vera Ashford Blackwood, and I am exactly enough. Like and subscribe if Vera's story resonated with you, because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is survive and then help others do the same. Drop a comment about what you want to see next, because this is just the beginning.